The funny part for me was last year when we did Hyde Park. That was probably my last outing for the year, because after that, Cyril got involved and things just got
like a proper
so in a way, it's almost like your parties generally are well timed, because you'll see again this year, like with the numbers going up, it seems like it's looming another lockdown of some sort.
You think you'll shut us down?
Yeah, with all this variant talk.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the statistics that the guys are saying, like, people at the hospitals, it's because they're not vaccinated.
Yeah, but I think with the stats that have come out as well, they said that the hospitals are not overwhelmed.
Not yet.
I think that's and because I saw like the amount of beds that were still available.
Yeah, not yet.
We're still in the triple digits.
Yeah,
so it's not
whereas the hospitalized people was like triple digits.
Yeah.
So it'll be like maybe 485 people in hospital, but there's still like 11,000 beds still available.
Yeah.
So I don't know if.
I mean, someone tried to simplify it, and they said it boils down to you're either going to force people to vaccinate, which is what the president was alluding to.
Yeah.
Or you got to shut down. Because when you shut down, the numbers do go down.
What would you guys prefer?
Hey, man, all I'm seeing is corporates.
Are y'all vaccinated?
I'm vaccinated.
Fella.
The interesting part, though, is at my work, where I work, they took a stance yesterday to say 4th of April next year, everybody needs to be. And I think it came after Discovery.
I was about to bring that up.
It's
Discovery set the tone.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people have freedom to choose what they like. But this feels critical. Because it's like, do we go to another lockdown? Rates are going up again.
Time of the year.
Inflation is crazy. We saw petrol the other day. Like, unemployment is insane. So it's almost like,
you take the gamble.
Yeah, I mean, like, is it really like an infringement on your freedom if I choose not to want to interact with you
because you're not vaccinated?
Yes. Am I stomping on your rights? Or even as a business owner?
Yeah.
Right? Right of admission reserved.
Yeah.
I don't want to let people that are not vaccinated into the establishment.
But that means then you're not choosing lockdown.
Yeah, you're going the vaccinated route.
You're going like the best health.
Yeah,
right of admission reserve.
No, like, I guess what I'm saying is, is forced vaccination, and it's not really forced, but like, is it really that bad of a thing? If you leave it onto the owners of spaces,
yes,
to dictate it. Like, it's my company,
Germany.
It's my business, it's my personal space.
Yeah.
I don't want to interact with you. Yeah. If you want to interact with me, these are the rules.
I think I've seen that's probably the approach they're taking, because they don't want to come out and say be vaccinated. But now in corporate, it's a case of, look, whether it's like you're saying, right of admission, this is my preference. If you don't want to be vaccinated, that's fine. That's the onus is on you. But if you're gonna work here or come to this restaurant, so you're not outright saying you have to get vaccinated. Because I think the rights thing was kind of tricky, where they don't want to come out. I've seen a lot of even the government's running a lot of campaigns on YouTube about these are the benefits of being vaccinated, because falling short, they have to make it mandatory, and I think they don't want to do that. They want to put people in a position where they see the benefits and disadvantages of like almost areas being tightened of what you can and cannot do if you're not vaccinated. So they're kind of arm twisting.
Sorry, Cash. I was gonna say the tricky one is on the customers. You have the ability to do that. Not allow someone that's not vexed, or like with the stadiums, and you gotta show your certificates. That makes sense on the customer side. Where it's a little bit tricky, it's on the employee side, because then Employee Act is gonna kick in, and they probably will fight it. Unfortunately, it will probably get to the Constitutional Court if you think about it, but it's gonna be what happens in the meantime. So someone might be laid off.
Yeah.
And then they gotta go the legal route. It becomes a class action of some sort.
Yeah.
And then it will be whether they're gonna win it or not, we don't know. But what happens during that period? So we don't know. So that's where it becomes a little bit tricky, because I think it's easier to actually do it with the establishment. That part is a little bit easier.
Yeah. Because
but
now
it's the other side,
Because once you start looking at it constitutionally, it's one of those tricky issues where, because you obviously go in there to uphold your constitutional right, right? But you're not vaccinating infringes of
infringes
someone
on
else's
someone else's
constitutional
right.
right.
Yeah.
Which so there's that conflict now.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they
because I mean,
how they fix for that.
the thing is now, like, how do you make a call? Because, like you're saying, you're actually right. If both parties actually have a constitution, it's my right, because it's not, as long as it's not mandatory to get vaccinated. But the flip is, okay, like at the constitutional court, once they get to the highest court, you have your right to not be vaccinated. But now your right is infringing on other people's health. So now I wouldn't want to be the judges that have to make that call, because it then sets also a precedent, because this is a new scenario.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like you're rightfully saying, you're not going to be earning, and that's a long process to go through each level of court until you get to the constitutional court, and you've been laid off that whole time.
Yeah.
And the wheels keep turning.
Look, in Germany, it's quite interesting because I think, which was the crazy part also with the ban, like their numbers are insanely high. But we saw in Germany, if you follow it, they have this thing like vexed and non-vexed, and they have these extreme rules for the non-vexed. But they don't want to infringe on their rules by forcing them. So they just create rules. Like in malls, there'll be like 2 lanes for the vexed and the non-vexed. And then they try to give the non-vexed less access to other things.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to, again, infringe on your right. But it's almost like you have now 2 parts of the country that...
and it's almost, I like that. And it's creating a stigma for the non-vax.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Because you don't want to be in that queue.
In that queue, like,
weird,
people look at you some type of way, like, okay, you. And I think what they also do, like, I think I'm seeing it, the government's not being outright, but I've seen a few ads where they're explaining, it's more benefits driven. So, like, if you get vaxxed, these are the benefits, herd immunity. So the German scenario is basically like, say, look, if you don't want to be vaxxed, it's cool, but just know, it's like the VIPs over here. And like, you can still get in the club, but there's no bottle service. And there's less benefits for you.
But I don't know about you guys. I think in South Africa, we don't actually have a lot of anti-vaxxers. A lot of people are just either lazy to go do it. Some may be misinformed a bit.
Yeah.
And then there's the people that are informed to say, I'm not yet ready because of valid reasons, so to speak. As in, like, if you have a conversation, they can enlighten you to the concerns, etc.
Why they hesitate.
But a lot of people are just like,
they're not bothered.
They're tricking us. Like, surely that's not a valid reason.
Yeah, but the South African situation is quite unique in the sense that we have a very high number of anti-vaxxers, as opposed to, say, maybe like a Botswana, for example.
Yeah, but I'm saying, do we know their reasons?
So I'm saying that to say, I wonder what is it about South Africans that makes them so averse to what are the cultural characteristics here that are making it that way? Because it's really strange for there to have been an outbreak, a pandemic, right? For a vaccine to come out and to have such a high number of people not wanting to take it.
Good point, because if you look at, like, even in Southern Africa, the other countries,
really
the numbers are, like, the uptake of the vaccine in SA is really low. Other countries, like, got on it immediately.
Yeah.
Outside of the sizes.
I think misinformation probably spreads faster than positive information, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because the problem is misinformation is being dictated by people. WhatsApp messages,
social media,
Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Whereas appropriate information is like, you got to go to a website, you got to listen to the news, or you got to listen to an expert. So it's almost like it's just easier
to get hooked on false info.
For you to see that information more than the accurate information.
But then that's the case in every country.
Yes, but to us, again, maybe how many times do you start to, like, or generally speaking, where you'll see people like read something on WhatsApp and they start to think it's a fact?
It happens very often.
You see?
Yeah.
That's and I don't know if that's
unique to
South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is quite interesting. Like, what is it about because, I mean, remember initially there's a thing of there were no vaccinations. The vaccination rollout wasn't done well. And the assumption is once we got the right vax, people would jump on it. But if you look at it, you could differentiate the numbers. Like the elderly, they weren't too keen. And then I think the like 40s to like early 30s, that was the group that got on the vaccination the most. So even by age, you could see this discriminating factors of people who got vaccinated and people who were not keen. And you'd assume the elderly with preconditions, they would have gotten on it. Their numbers were poor.
But I also think there's another element to it where I think it might be normalized now. Fourth wave is like the fourth. So it becomes normalized. It's like if you survive first, second, third, you might say, "Oh,
yeah." With the subsequent waves, like fuck it, man.
Exactly. Like, and I think
it's a wave, so let's ride it.
every 6 months there's a wave."
Yeah,
at this point,
and I think people might just also be. I think there's an element of COVID fatigue with the levels, the changing of rules, and then now you go get vaccinated. Okay, and most humans have got that whole thing of you go first, let's go see how it happens, and I'm gonna try it. Which one did you get? Were you sick? What was the reaction? There's so many moving parts, but that is a good question. Think like why specifically the uptake is not that great, because other people, I think because if you remember level 5 and those clips we saw on TV of just cemeteries with cranes and just graves, there was a time there was just that whole phobia. Yeah. Then I think had a vaccine come out that time, people would have jumped on it. But a year and a half in, it's a case of okay, it's kind of slowed down. People are now more focused on the lockdown level changes of which level we're at as opposed to vaccination and getting a boost and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I think so what makes this tricky to me sometimes, I don't know. Like it's like we then leave this to our government to make the right decision, balancing out all these things we're discussing, and like generally you can't even rely on our government for optimal decision making.
There's too many. Yeah. There's too many moving parts to what constitutes like the decisions. There's the health side. There's the business side.
Consider could choose the easy route and just shut it.
Yeah.
Is it really an easy decision to make though? I mean, you don't want to be the sitting president during a time where there was an economic downturn as a result of you switching it off.
Yeah,
it's the worst position you want to be in. I don't think him shutting it down is a nice decision to make. He does not want to do that.
Yeah, and I think he's already under pressure from already. There's
it's a bad legacy.
Yeah, it's a bad legacy.
But he'd rather not address the non-vexed.
Yeah,
close.
Yeah, because closing is. They've been closing and opening.
Yes, it's probably not an easy decision, but he's avoiding a
tougher one.
The one that actually needs to be addressed.
Yeah, but then now the forcing of the vaccination is like it's a legal nightmare.
It's a legal nightmare. The rights
might put him in. He doesn't want to.
He doesn't want. Yeah, it's a rock and a hard place because
the legal complications are just too much. Yeah. He might, an economy is like, I'm not. Nobody's gonna take me to jail for
the economy. Yeah. It was maybe a bad quarter, but now
he's not going to be a president next 2024. I don't know. But
I think he'll still be.
But he'll still, yeah.
You might just get it by the skin of his teeth. But it's a rock and a hard place because are you the one who's going to have that legal nightmare of infringing on people's constitutional right and forcing vaccinations? Or are you the president where petrol's almost 20 rand a litre?
But does our legal system do like class actions?
You should be able to.
I think we do.
We do?
I think we do have.
They just, from what I know, is like any class action, you have to go through every court level until you get to the constitutional court. Like with each level, if you don't get the satisfactory result that you want. And class actions...
But it's probably like the state suing then.
If during class action?
Yeah. Or is it...
No, it wouldn't be this. Like usually,
it's citizens versus the state. Like in the issue of rights, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I don't know, like...
So what's after...
Oh, you say like who would you be suing in this instance?
Yeah.
Probably the state.
The state, because...
So what's Afri Forum's stance on this? Because they're the only people that could fund the class action.
Yeah, because you need deep pockets for a class
action. They have money to
yeah.
They have legal mileage.
Yeah, to stay out that long.
A lot of it. Them niggas will take you to court.
And be chilling. They'll be good for the legal
fees.
They
have the time and the patience.
On the patience, bro. And the expertise. But I mean, they've got guys who volunteer.
Yeah.
Just to get involved. Because class actions are never they're not cheap and it'll be tedious. So
they're long, so
hella long. Because it's like you go to every level. If you don't get the result you want, you take it to Supreme. It's magistrate, high court, Supreme Court, and at each level it takes long. It takes money, and then when you don't get the result you want, then the final stage is the constitutional court, and then there it's now in essence we're looking at what the law is, and if there's nothing, we now have to set the precedent with this issue. So now the case of vaccinations, it now becomes, does the state have power to make something like this mandatory? So they can't just make a quick decision, because if they have something similar in the future, they refer back to this one.
Yeah. Do you guys think there'll ever be a time where we are you guys working from home?
Yeah.
Or are you back in the...
Been working from home.
Yeah. You think we ever gonna go back? Do you think the whole country is ever gonna go back to the way things were?
Nah. For me,
I work in property. I finance property.
Yeah.
the vacancies are too high at the moment. Guys are struggling to renew leases. Big corporations like nationals, they split into regions again. Like Discovery, for instance, they built this big office in Sandton.
Sure.
That's why they will then force all the employees, because they just built this new building
They
that's
just invested so much money. Yeah.
It has to work.
10,000 people, Whereas what other people are doing is they then regionalizing it again. You gotta have an office in the east, in the west, in the north, and in Tshwane, and then you gotta have another regional office like in Durban, Cape Town. So they are splitting. Mm-hmm. That's one way of doing it, because you can't put people in the same place anymore. That's just generally risky.
Yeah.
So the hybrid model is gonna happen, but the guys if you work for a smaller company, you probably might go back. The guys that work for companies that have these large spaces, those are the guys that have a bit of
flexibility,
or a headache to solve for. Because remember, whenever there's a new wave, if at any given point you have 5,000 employees in a building, and that thing peaks, you're risking your business.
Right, you'll be stewing that COVID.
It's like being might as well having COVID and you're in a sauna at the gym, bro, and just let's just let it cook, bro.
Like,
Yeah, I think that the challenge with COVID, from what I know in terms of how it is, it's in essence, it's seasonal, just like a flu. So even with how the vaccination does not guarantee that you won't get it, booster shot. So to answer most questions, to envisage a situation where we go back to how things were 100%.
It's never happening.
It's not. Because
people sold houses, dog. People are now staying KZN because if you had
they went home,
yeah, a lot of people took hardcore decisions, which may be privileged to some of them. Like if you management, you sold your house in Sandton, you're now in Hartbees. You're not gonna force employees,
Nah.
But if you management and you still have your house in Sandton, you might force employees. So we're gonna go to a stage where this makes you choose another employer over the other. Because they're going to have these different rules.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the people that have moved back home, and, in terms of, because then, work-life balance has changed a lot. How have you found, I remember on Twitter there was this rave about this girl that was complaining about a colleague that had to take a kid to, pick up a kid or take a kid to school.
Hey, poo me.
I don't know how that girl is always in some shit. But
after the Woolies one, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, so now I imagine that especially the ones that have kids now, you have children, yeah.
Yeah, but she's not yet in school, but yeah.
Yeah, so now there's the
school run, timetable.
Yeah, so the morning run is normal, but now that you are always at home, do you have a school run when school comes out, or is it a public transportation? Or
I was actually thinking about it with my wife, literally. So our daughter is 4.5, so she goes to crash, and her times are still manageable. So like 8 till 6. So we get to still pick her up at 4 or 5.
Okay.
That's okay. And I can still go to the office and come back. But the problem is going to be when she goes to school, that ends at 1. So I'm now going to have to, have aftercare. If I don't have aftercare, then I'm going to prefer to work from home. Because then I got to pick her up at 1.
Yeah.
That's just, it's too difficult to
the balance
incorporate. So then working from home, we're not there yet. We're 2 years away from that decision.
Yeah.
But I can see it, So for people that work at home and they have kids in school, they have to either have a nanny to look after their child.
Yeah.
And this was life before COVID. Whereas when COVID is here, you might even have time for your kid after school. So you might prefer it. But it's inconveniencing.
Exactly. I want to get to the inconvenience. That's actually what I want to speak about. So, because now you're saying that, there might come a time where you have to go fetch your kid at 1 o'clock during the day, right? What does that then mean for your co-workers who need your time?
At that specific point.
Yeah, let's be honest, man. So for me, this is where then, again, the fundamentals of the employer you choose. Because I don't know. So I work in financial institutions and I've worked for 2 now. but I've also worked in different departments, and different departments have different rules. So if you work in an environment where there's older people that have kids, the environment reflects that. And if you work for an environment where there's younger people, all ambitious, no kids, it also reflects that, you know. Like when you work like in investment banking, for instance, where Pumi, you know, works, it's normal to work 10 hours a day.
Yeah. It's all grind time.
You know what I mean? And that environment is driven by there's a crisis and it needs to be solved, right? And what you typically see is, which I used to see back in the days, you know, like the guys in investment banking, when the hours are hectic, it's almost like when you get married and you have kids, you kind of leave that space.
Yeah, it's
because
like
it's not kind to
you.
It's not kind to you.
Yeah,
you know, auditing.
Yeah,
where like you're on a deadline, and they don't care. So you have to make the decision as a parent to say, then I must leave this environment, which is probably not fair, but it's peaceful.
I don't know. I feel like, you know, people choose their paths. You know, like if you're not built for it, don't be in the streets. You know, sort of like if hustling, you know, bro. If this is not the life that you can live, don't be there. But at the same time, because I know for like when she was saying those things, I sort of empathize because I've been in those situations where I had a deadline to reach. The person that I needed is off.
Yeah.
Family commitments,
fetching kids or taking a dog to a vet or I'm not comparing. Well, it's the same.
But it's the same, mate. You just exactly. You've got a commitment and you're not there, and it's gonna affect your delivery.
It's an hour out of
your day, and we at work. You know,
KPIs.
So I'm like, you know, and I can't now go to my superiors and say I couldn't do this thing because Cash was out picking up his kids.
Exactly. But if you look at it from the other side, you kind of
that's not the answer.
I would also understand why someone on the other side would kind of feel some type of way, because at the end of the day, we've got a deliverable. This is the environment.
Yeah.
And what's gonna happen is it'll look like, okay, the task wasn't done, and you know the hypes. It'll sound like a bit of a soft story, like this is why it wasn't done. You guys, especially in these very like deadline-driven spaces. So, but it comes back to what you said, that ultimately you might have to pull out that space.
But because also I was gonna say, if I were to play devil's advocate, like being on, you know, Pumi's side or Pume, it's like, yeah, sometimes there's people that actually go to take their child from school, and that's okay. They come back, they gotta be effective and just try and deliver as quick as possible. But again, the other issue that working from home brings is like there's always that other nigga that's not taking care of a child, but he's like, you know, at a mall.
You see, that's the thing.
So it's like everybody gets grouped in the same. You know, you are away for an hour. Then the company has to make a decision that says, "Okay, don't be away for an hour. That's just too long."
If we work in Sandton, right? If you work in Sandton CBD, and you have to go do a school run at Kuro and Midrand, when am I expecting you back?
Yeah,
and I was not gonna cut it.
And there's traffic.
Yeah.
Because it's not just pick up the kid, drop them off at home, re-up, get back to the office. You need a person to get stuff done.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how that can be a problem.
Yeah. So to maybe also flip it to the other side. So with my wife, like there's days where it's like, "Ish, baby, I can't get there. Can you go there?" It's like, "Well, you're supposed to go." I'm like, "Yo, I've got a huge deadline."
And it just springs up on you, right?
I need you to go, you know. And then if she goes, then she can go. But I don't know the day where we both can go.
What happens then?
Because we all have hectic jobs, you know what I mean? So I can't even think of that. Because, like, are we now going to have to call someone, like a family friend, or, you know what I mean? Because, like, you also can't leave your child at school.
Somebody has to go.
Someone has to go.
You can't leave your child at school attending to a report to be submitted. That's not good parenting.
Yeah.
And some of these schools, I know the aftercare is not cheap. They will charge you, like, a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
And then the kid's too young for...
If you have aftercare, that's better, because then you've got aftercare. It's where you don't have aftercare.
And
it's whereby
the kid is stranded.
Like out of 30 days, out of 22 working days, you are typically able to fetch your child, but there's one day where you can't.
Then you leave the kid stranded. It's poor. Like,
so now I must get aftercare because I couldn't go for, you know, for one day when the report was required.
For those unforeseen. Yeah. And the thing is, you know, when somebody has to go, because you're going to pick your kid up, somebody's paying for that.
Yeah.
It's either the company,
me or you,
or
your colleagues,
or me. Yeah, I'm paying.
You're paying for.
I'm paying for that.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think it's that far fetched for me to complain about your absence if it
No, different.
It affects my work.
You feel some type of way.
It affects my performance. And I understand that, maybe complaining about you going to pick your kids up might sound like,
kind of foul.
You're not being compassionate or whatnot. Or maybe, I might, you come across like, you don't have kids. That's why you're speaking like this or whatever. I do have a kid, but, I'm not faced with those dynamics. But at the same time, I'm thinking, every time there's a coworker away from work, right, who I'm dependent on to do my work, it costs me something.
Yeah.
I feel it when he's not there.
Yeah. But we gotta work at having better leaders more. Cause so so the Puma thing was relatively easy for me because it's almost like, the tweet went out and kind of people took a stance, but then it created another conversation around, toxic managers, because then someone else actually complaining about you having a child, maybe if they don't have kids, then they create a toxic environment against kids in general.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
My wife was saying that at the company that she works at, she just now started reporting to a new line, and she was saying that guy is such a family guy.
Yeah, and so he creates that environment.
Yeah,
and the difference is immediate compared to where she was probably previously.
So for someone that plans to have a family in the near future, that's comforting to her because she knows that she's gonna need a lot of leeway and leniency when it comes to this sort of.
I mean, there's women that can't even take 4 months
for maternity
leave, as the law. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw when people are saying people were like on computers in the C-section, like. The stories that we hear sometimes are insane. So we gotta sometimes address this toxic behavior that sometimes the corporate culture has, man. That's just not right.
Yeah, you can't be in a.
And you know what happens? A lot of times we leave that environment.
Yeah, you don't change
as opposed to changing
because you can't fight it. It generally pays well. You are a minority.
Mm-hmm. And it's already it's the other challenge is like environments that have always been set up like that. Like, if you don't have a majority of people saying certain things need to change, you're not going to have enough clout or pull to change that environment. Especially if, like you're saying, like you rightfully...
Or you won't win a contract, bro. Like, your whole company might be bidding for a contract. And now you want to fit a child. And now we missed the contract. We missed the deadline.
We missed M's. Because...
That is unacceptable.
It circles back to what you said.
That's a 20 billion rand contract.
That we missed out.
10 million fee.
Yeah,
a long-term contract. We were budgeting.
I'm sorry, but
it's like Cyril's decision, bro.
Look at that, that situation, Fetu.
Yeah.
We're gonna miss this thing because
you had family issues,
and you're putting everyone's bonus and salaries on
the line, exactly. But then who's the person who's gonna come out and say
it's a difficult call, man?
Because now do you value the contract over someone's personal family livelihood? Ideally, there should be a hybrid model, a balance. But hey, I'm glad I don't have to make.
But let me tell you, so when I started doing my articles, like on the CA journey, the guys tell you like, yo, we pay you enough to buy a car. Here's your starting salary. They're like, this is enough for you to buy a car. If you don't buy a car, that's okay. But we don't want to hear about you late at work.
Transport issues.
We don't want to hear none of that. And I think some of those environments, that's what they do. They say, we pay you enough to have help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, because sometimes that's the flip side of expectations. Like, we can't be paying you millions. And then you're saying you don't have a driver to fetch your child.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, what do you do with the money we're paying you, bro?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
but you're all right about like the maternity.
It's just that it sucks when. So sorry, Cash. It sucks when you're not paid well.
Yeah,
because that feels like extortion.
And
they're always taking from you. You know what I mean? So,
and even there, the motivation levels won't be so in tune. Like if you're not getting paid well, and then it's a case of now I'm having to try to prioritize the work over family. And if you're not paid well, you don't have that many options to come up with like a compromise.
Yeah.
And you know how corporate is, bro. Corporate is all KPIs, deliverables. But I actually like Mo's point because in this scenario, no one's wrong. You're well within your rights to feel some type of way about a colleague who like jeopardizing your work about the job, but you can't come out and be that person who says it. Yeah. Because on the other side, that person's
she said it on Twitter. I hope you didn't get to the colleague.
Yeah, and I feel like, even that colleague, she also has a right to feel some way about you having a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the two sides that's coming to.
You don't make me look like a monster just because I got a problem with you fetching your kid at one, nigga. I got work to do.
Exactly, bro. Like at the end of the day, you knew like these are the deliverables and it's what needs to happen.
Yeah. But
no one's wrong. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I don't think anybody in particular is wrong.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, Twitter people will blow shit out of.
Yeah, bro. It's like
especially if you're not a favorite.
Ooh, good luck with that, bro. If you don't have clout in the Twitter streets, even if your perspective is right, they might just look at you first, and as opposed to what are you saying.
The Dojo.